I got 6:59. We'll get started in 1 minute. We'll get started in 1 minute. Okay.
Mayor Wood, it's 7 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's 7 o'clock on May 18, 2021. I'm gonna call the Dumfries Town Council meeting to order. Ms. Hill, can you take the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Brown,
Present.
Councilman Fields, Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Neville,
Present.
Councilman Pete, Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
Mayor Wood.
I'm present. And I just see I got a message from Pete. I guess he'll be trying to get on about 7:15, just for
I was
message.
muted when I said here, but I'm here.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
all right. I'd like to have a moment of a silent prayer and reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. All right, lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have anything to change or add to the agenda? Okay, Town Manager, do you have anything to change or add?
No, sir.
Okay. I am just going to add a proclamation that we'll put up there right before citizen comment time, right before the approval of the minutes for public servant mental health awareness. Public Servant Mental Health Week and Mental Health Awareness Month. So do it right before citizen comment time. All right, so we'll welcome a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So move. So move.
Okay, so
Second.
moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilwoman Neville. Okay, and I'll do that by vote. Any discussion on the motion? Sorry. All right, seeing no discussion. Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me. Motion carries 6-0. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes from April 20th and May 4th. Anybody have any changes to make, or is everything? If not, I welcome a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman Neville, second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Seeing no discussion on this matter, I'll call for the question. All right, Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville,
Aye.
Councilman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles,
Aye.
Vice Mayor,
Yes.
and that's a yes for me. That motion carries 6-0 on the approval of the minutes. Next on the agenda is the proclamation for Public Servant Mental Health Week and Mental Awareness Month. And I'll read it. It reads, whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas public servants and first responders are facing challenges in work and life that can impact their mental health, and especially during a pandemic. And whereas in politics, there's still a stigma associated with anyone who is sought or is seeking mental health treatment. And whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there are practical tools and coping skills that all people can use to improve their mental health and increase resiliency, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas the effective support and treatment those individuals who seek mental health support can lead resilient, full, and balanced life, thus become better public servants and improving their communities. And whereas Politicom is on a mission to support and improve the lives of public servants by providing expert professional coaching services and better access to mental health professionals through online platforms, and whereas Politicom aims to partner with government and law enforcement agencies to better support them as they carry out their responsibilities to the public. And whereas Politicom implores each business, school, government, agency, healthcare provider, organization, citizen to share the burden of mental health problems and have a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention and treatment efforts. Therefore, the Town of Dumfries Town Council do hereby proclaim May 10th through 14th as Public Servant Mental Health Week and May 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the Town of Dumfries. We also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, schools in the Town of Dumfries to commit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of the mental health of our public service, the steps our citizens can take to protect their own mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. By order of the council, signed, Derek R. Wood, Mayor. And I want to present that resolution to Ms. Christina Romulus here from Politicom. Can you bring her in for me? Ms. Christina, thank you. We want to present this resolution on behalf, and thank you for thinking of public servants and their mental health. Just want to give you a chance to give some brief remarks.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I really appreciate this support of this resolution. Our organization, Politicom, is our motto is keep calm, it's just politics. And our mission is really to support and improve the lives of our public servants, especially as a public servant myself. I know firsthand the difficulties that we as public servants face, the decisions that we make that we do not take lightly, the hard decisions that we make to lead our communities, and still balancing that with our families, with our personal lives, with our businesses, with everything else that we have going on. So as a time to reflect and as a time to also look back at the really difficult times that we've had in these past few months with the pandemic going on, we want to make sure we highlight our public servants. We thank them for all the work that they've done. And when I say public servants, I don't just mean our elected officials. That includes our town clerk, that includes our mayors, that includes our city councilors and our attorneys, our fire chiefs, our police chiefs. That includes every single person who is a public servant, who gives of themselves, who gives of their time, takes away from their family to be able to support our communities and keep them better. So we thank you, we salute you, we honor you during this Public Servant Mental Health Week. And we also honor you during Mental Health Awareness Month, because we know that if you are doing okay and you are in your best place, then our communities are thriving under your leadership. So thank you, and keep doing your great work in the town of Dumfries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and give our regards to the Florida Municipal League and all those down there in Florida as well. Thank you for your service. All right, next on our agenda is our citizen comment period. All right, are there any citizens here that wish to make comments? Please raise your hands. We'll give you 2 minutes. Please state your name and your address for the record for our clerk, and we will get you in there. All right, first, Miss Chrissy Marie, the floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Chrissy Falls, and I'm from the Prince William County area. Is that all you need? Okay. Most communities look solely at the economic impacts a gambling establishment has on the community.
I'm sorry, Chrissy, we do need your street address for the record. Our clerk needs that. So
Oh,
have a record. Yeah, we like to acknowledge your comments as well. We don't respond as council during public comment period. We take your comments down and we do get back to you.
you want me to put it in the chat so the whole world doesn't have my home address? How does that work? Sorry, new here.
Okay, yeah, you can put it in the chat and we'll go on, but that's generally how it works. People just generally, when they come to public meetings, they state their name and address for the record. Well, when we're in public, you do get to sign into a sheet, so we'll accept it like that. So go ahead,
All right.
I'll actually restart.
Thank you. Most communities look solely at the economic impacts a gambling establishment has on a community, but moral and social issues need attention as well. A gambling establishment brings other risk factors into an already struggling community. It provides easy access to the addictive nature of gambling and substance use, not to mention human trafficking. While gambling may bring on the millions of dollars in projected funds in our state and town governments, the negative costs may outweigh the economic benefits. Which leads me to ask, are you really looking out for the best interests of individual community members living and working here, or just the economics? Mayor Woods, you stated in a news article that your only concerns about the project are unknowns. Let me tell you what we know. We know that residents in our community have one of the highest commute times in the region and country. And also, many residents work multiple jobs to support their families. Parents already spend extra hours away from their households and children, which is a risk factor for multiple mental health and substance use issues in our young people. This establishment will increase traffic on area roads, increasing the time parents are away from home. How will you mitigate that risk? We know that individuals who may already struggle with addictive behaviors, both gambling and substance use, will now have easier access to the machines and substances that fuel their addictions. This ease of access will also increase the likelihood that addiction begins because of dopamine reward mechanisms which are activated.
30 seconds.
This behavior and establishment will lead to the more imperative driving, lost individual income for residents due to losses caused by gambling and possible crime. We know that gambling rates are high in military communities. Are you willingly enticing our servicemen and women by placing an establishment so close to military bases? We know that community organizations, nonprofits, and governmental agencies are already struggling to serve our residents in the Prince William area, and by bringing this establishment here, we're choosing to increase that burden due to individual consequences that it will here. More than likely, community services, social services, and local nonprofits will be working on the treatment, prevention, and recovery from this addiction. How will this?
Thank you, Ms. Chrissy. If you have more comments, you could just email them all in and we'll get those on the record.
All right, thank you.
All right, was there anybody else here to speak publicly today? Okay. Let's come in, state your name and address for the moment, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, Town Council. My name is Ebony Lofton. I live on Milroy Drive here in Dumfries. I recently filed a FOIA request for a list of businesses in good standing, a list of delinquent businesses in the last 12 months, a list of town positions making more than $75,000, a list of the town's pay scale, and a list of town positions by title and department. And even though I requested an electronic copy, I was met with a $325 fee based on a rate of $54 an hour for 6 hours. I asked for a waiver of the fee as that amount is more than 1/3 of my mortgage and I can't afford it, especially since I've recently filed other FOIA requests with other Virginia agencies and received over 60 files free of charge. I even offered to waive the time limit requirement in exchange for a fee waiver, but was told no. I asked then under FOIA if I could inspect the records in the office and was told that wasn't possible. The organizational chart on the town's FY 2020 budget lists the citizens at the top, meaning that everyone else, including the town council, the town manager, works for us. But I've never heard of an employee charging their employer for information. That would be like my boss asking me for a report of what I've been working on. And in addition to the salary I already earn, I tell her she'll have to pay me more to prove I'm actually working. I pay my vehicle license fee each year and my real estate taxes too. Every time I make a purchase in this town, it earns revenue. I ask what can be done for a citizen in this town to have access to public information that I already pay for. Perhaps the town council could consider a policy most Virginia agencies subscribe to, which is charging a fee only after the first 2 hours. Perhaps the town council could consider updating its website, making it more user-friendly and uploading more public information instead of suppressing my rights to have access to public information by charging me insane fees to perhaps deter me from requesting it in the first place. Lastly, I want to say as the town manager is embarking on hiring a new police chief, I hope you would consider acting Chief Gallion. He served us well since last September, and I have no doubt he'll continue to do so. He has shown his heart is with the town and could bring a fresh new perspective. I thank you for hearing my concerns and comments and for your service to our community. God bless.
Thank you. All right, were there any other citizens with remarks tonight at the council? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to reports and presentations on the agenda. Town manager's report, Mr. Rogers, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few highlights from my report that I would like to share with everyone. I want to remind everyone that on July 7th, real estate bills are due. We have updated the real estate bills to make them more user-friendly, not only for the residents, but also for mortgage companies and holding companies that process those payments on everyone's behalf. So I hope that everyone has seen the new bill, enjoys the updated and additional information that we provided. And I encourage them, if anyone has any questions, to visit our town website or contact our town treasurer. And again, that date is the due date is June 7th. I also wanted to remind residents of the Knolls of Dumfries, we will be hosting a community meeting tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. to provide details about the streetlight project that will be occurring in this community. So at the meeting tomorrow, you will be able to get specific information about the specific location of those streetlights, and hopefully everyone will be excited to provide this public safety amenity to a neighborhood that we believe needs it. And finally, I want to make a note about the renaming of Mine Road to Batestown Road. Residents in this, I want to remind everyone that this name change is official pursuant to the resolution from Town Council, as well as action by the Prince William County Board of Supervisors. So impacted residents will receive updated information regarding their change of address, but that name change will go into effect very soon. And so I wanted to remind the residents of this change. That's all the highlights I have for this evening.
All right, council, are there any questions on the town manager report? Anyone have any questions? I had one about the Dumfries. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman DeVille.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to know if you could share an update regarding the town website.
Regarding the town website?
Yes.
Anything in particular?
Updates. I know the council has expressed a need to have some updates to the website, make it more functional so we can see items, make it more user-friendly. Any update to the town website?
The town website is functioning and the information is there. I think it's
There will
user
be no
friendly.
change
Most of
to
the
the town
information
website?
requires one click. Anything more specific?
Well, I believe the council and citizens have stated some concerns about the website several times. It's been a while though. So I can tell you some of mine right now, which we have emailed about, but access to information just to make it more user-friendly. I think if we had a committee, maybe we should have a citizens committee give you specific feedback on what they like to see with the town website. One of the things I'd also like to see that we mentioned was recordings of our board and commission meetings, the transparency there. But if there are no current updates, there are no current updates.
Yes, ma'am. The audios for all the council meetings are on the town YouTube page, one click off the website. Board and commission meetings are not have not been recorded pre-pandemic. So if council would like to look into recording board and commission meetings, we're happy to look into that. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, well, I don't know where we'll go from now. With that from now, I like the idea of a committee, but I would like to have those recorded. Now, I don't know, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I'm just speaking for myself right now. And I think some other council members and citizens will give you insight on direction with the functionality of the website. Thank you, Mayor.
I think what has been customary in the past, Councilwoman DeVille, I guess that we have got away from is the board and commission meetings reporting out to the council once a month and just being able to bring a report. That's kind of what we used to do to keep everybody informed to what was going on at those meetings. So they would just, we would have the chair bring meetings once a month in lieu of recording the minutes. And I don't know if, you know, that'll be something we might look back into, bringing the chairs up to do the minutes and stuff. But my question was going to be about the Dumfries open data portal. If you could speak to that, is that part of the website or is that something different? And how does that relate to our citizens FOIA request that was mentioned during the comments time? Can you speak to that?
Sure. The open data portal provides a interactive data on specifically on the town strategic focus areas. So within that site, you will find financial reports.
So I guess the first, is that part of our website or is that a separate entity?
It's a separate page, but it's it's accessible directly from the town's website. Right on the home page says open data, one click, it'll get you to the portal. So yes, sir, it's accessible directly from the town website. And there we provide information on things such as spending, budget, business license, permits, inspections, demographics, those sorts of things. That will also be from our recently adopted budget. That will also where we provide regular updates on the performance measures that were approved in the budget.
All right, and on the public safety report? Oh, Councilman Brown, you got a follow up to that? Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Rogers, is this open data part of the state or federal, or it's something that you just included into our website?
This is our unique data, so it's all local data unless otherwise specified. The COVID-19 data that will be made available will be pulled from the state, and demographic data is typically pulled from the census, but all the other data is purely local to the town. And even the data from other sources is pulled directly, hosted on that site. So it's within our spectrum. It's not a redirect to another site.
So is it possible to post routine information, let's say from a FOIA request, if we're getting the same type of request for the same information, just to post that on our open data? portal?
Yes, sir.
So I think that was the second part. So how does that help out with the FOIA requests that we be getting? As said, FOIA requests that we've gotten. And I guess where can council see a list of, I guess, the FOIA requests we've gotten over the last 30 or 60 days? Because I know for I think all of us, it's the first we're hearing of any FOIA requests of such. So we just, do we have a platform? At one point, we used to get something. I know when Dawn was the clerk, she would just update us on FYI. We just got these FOIA type requests in.
If council would like a report on the FOIA request we received, we can provide that.
Okay. Just give us an update, and I can see if everybody. Let's just see, Vice Mayor, would you like that? Let me just see if I got a consensus on that.
I want to make sure I understand the question. Are you asking me, do I want to be copied every time we get a
No,
FOIA
no,
request?
no. Just a report of FOIA requests that come in, so that we're just updated. That's the question.
So we can track the FOIA requests that are coming in, so we know what's being requested?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Councilwoman DeVille.
I had some clarification questions too, because I'm not sure if someone, like, what is the process? I was about to ask for a screen share, but someone asked for a FOIA request. Is there a form that we give them with specific information explaining, how we arrive as the town to the fee, or is it just a response back? What is the process on our end with the FOIA request? And should someone, as the citizen mentioned earlier, make a FOIA request, what do they receive? Is there a form that we're using?
I think we have a FOIA officer. Is that right, Mr. Rogers?
We have a FOIA officer. We have a page directly on our website to apply for a FOIA. There's a form, there's a policy. It has not changed since I have been with the town. So nothing has changed since I've been with the town in regards to the policy, the form, and what the requester is provided. The policy essentially is that we will follow Virginia FOIA, which is law. So we do not deviate from that. So I'm not. There's no difference with what's listed in FOIA law than what we do here at the town.
So, I understand they would complete a form, but what we give them back is my question. Do they have this information written out in some type of form, or is it, I understand they.
Well, and I think that was what I was just going to, just so we could kind of just be aware. So I was just going around to see if it's just a consensus. So let me just check it. Councilman Fields? Did you want to be in the loop on that?
I mean, it's okay, just as long as it's not an extra burden upon the staff to do so.
Okay. Councilwoman Miles?
Yes, I would like to be kept in the loop on the FOIA request.
Okay. And then Councilman Brown, and then I'll come to Ms. Pandak.
No, I don't need to see it as long as the town manager is meeting the requirements from the state. And again, back to the routine requests. So the citizens don't incur a cost for something that we've already done. So I'm just want to make sure that we get those routine FOIA requests redacted and on the website. That's all it is.
Okay.
Just to add, I would say that we don't get routine FOIA requests for the same information regularly. And we only charge for what's absolutely necessary. If something has been provided and it's easy to provide, and it can be provided for no cost, we will do that. But we have a small staff, and most requests require labor from the staff to complete the request and review and compile the requested documents. And that is all that we charge for. We communicate that up front. It is listed on the form that is the law and the policy. And so there are no surprises. In fact, if it's under a certain amount, we will provide the record before we receive the funds. And so if someone wants to take the documents and not pay, we will not hold them harmless unless they provide another request, and then we remind them that they have an active balance. So this is not a revenue generator for the town. This is simply to follow state law, which put this in place to prevent us from being unable to complete our normal work, because we only have a very small amount of time to reply to the FOIA request. So this is not a revenue generator. This is not a deterrent to requesters. This is exactly from state law what our policy is. There's no deviation from what is provided there.
Ms. Panda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Rogers has largely said what I was going to relay to the council, and he and I frequently confer, as did the FOIA officer when Don was serving that capacity, on how the response should be made to FOIAs that come in. One of the important things to bear in mind is, as he pointed out, but also that if there is not a charge that's routinely made and consistently made with respect to the various FOIAs, then we can't treat different people differently. And secondly, if a charge is not imposed for substantial work, then the rest of the community ends up paying for the time that it takes for the staff to compile those FOIAs. There are very few routine FOIAs. And we've discussed from time to time those that might become routine. They've never become that way, and how that might be posted. But secondly, the response depends on how the information can be most readily and inexpensively provided. So in some cases, it's pulling documents that are responsive to the request. In other cases, it may be a compilation of information that is a more expeditious way of responding to the request. And then, as he mentioned, but I want to make sure everybody understands, the estimate of the costs where a charge will be made is provided to the requester in advance, so they can have an opportunity to decide whether or not they want to proceed.
All right, council, any other questions on that topic? I'm going to move on to public safety. Question about our recruits in the academy. How are they doing? I know they've been in since January. Is there a time frame, or is just when they complete their training they come out?
They're scheduled to graduate later this month.
Okay, so we do have two coming out this month. And I guess for the public edification of the council, can you talk to the process for recruiting of the new chief? That's like the biggest question in the community. What is the town's process so that we put it out so everybody knows what the process is going to be?
The process is that the job is posted. When applications come in, a review panel will screen the applications and schedule interviews. I will be involved in that process, and a chief will be hired.
Okay. All right, and last topic on the planning and community services. On the 4 zoning permits received. Now, when you say received in that report, does that mean that these are applications that came in or just initiated, or those are permits that we actually issued?
It means we received them.
So we just got the application?
Correct.
Okay. And so the ones that were approved, those are 3 out of the 4.
Mr. Capers, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just want to understand the report. So the report has
received means we received them within the month, and the ones that were processed are ones that are processed. They're not necessarily the same permits. We're just providing, trying to give just an idea about the volume of work.
Yes, Mr. Rogers, that is correct. The report indicates the number of zoning permits that were received for the month. What is shown as being approved, as the town manager indicated doesn't necessarily indicate those same permits that were received within that month. Those could be permits that were reviewed over time and was essentially approved within the month, not necessarily the permits that were received and accepted.
And I think the reason why I'm asking, this is important to me because I like to know new businesses that come in town. I don't know, at one time we were talking about doing, welcomes on the town council, letting them know who we are as a town government, even some type of eventually ribbon cutting. So I don't know about everybody else, but those, like when we get stuff approved or new businesses come to town, that's always of great importance to me because I like to go around and kind of like meet and greet and just know who they are. So that's all I got on the reports. Any other things before we move on? Anybody have any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Next on the agenda is our action item. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman DeVille, you had some. I'm sorry. That's why I had to look back up one more time. Go ahead.
Yes. Just to clarify, it was mentioned with the hiring of the police chief. You said review board. Is that internal or is that an opportunity for citizens and business owners to get involved? Can you clarify what the review board is?
It will be a panel of qualified professionals from the public safety field to review the applicants.
Okay, does that answer your question, Councilwoman DeVille?
That clarifies what the review board is.
Okay. All right. All right, last call for any questions before I move on. I'm about to look down. So, all right, I seeing no hands. We're gonna move on to our action items. All right, application of appeal for A 2021-002 of a proper interpretation of a site plan by the zoning administrator. All right, and this is an application of appeal. Is the applicant here too as well? Who did this appeal?
Mr. Mayor, he tells me that he's in the waiting room.
So I want to, I'm gonna do this, because this is a public hearing, correct?
No, there's no public hearing required, no, sir. But I think you will want to hear from the applicant. And
Okay.
Mr. Devine said he doesn't know for sure he's connected. He didn't see a place to enter the passcode.
There he is. Is it William F. Devine?
Yes, that's him, yes.
Okay.
Mr.
So
Devine, if you could take your mute button off, please.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give the applicant an opportunity to speak first, and then we'll hear from our staff, and then I will allow the council to chime in. So Mr. Devine, the floor is yours. This is your application for appeal. Welcome to the town council meeting. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Wood and Vice Mayor Nickerson and other members of council. I appreciate the opportunity to represent. This is really my client's application for an appeal of the proffer interpretation letter that Mr. Capers wrote on, I think it was February 11th, or he signed on February 11th of 2021, some three months after he refused to process the site plan application. And going back, obviously there was the planned mixed use community zoning that took place in 2016, I believe it was. In 2016, that created the town square at Dumfries. There were proffers adopted in connection with that. I think it's important to note that proffer 1, section 3 requires the development of 40 age restricted, 55 age restricted housing units in that development. And that's what this site plan was dealing with. And the site plan was officially accepted on October 9 of 2020. The first review comments were due on November 23 of 2020. Those never came. So the engineer who was responsible for developing the site plan called or emailed Ms. Johnson and Mr. Capers to ask where that was. And it was literally a month after those first comments were due that Mr. Capers wrote basically a one-sentence reply that said that it was not in conformity with the requirements for land development and operations, and he therefore refused to approve the site plan. The proffers do not have any elements that describe or outline the sequencing or timing of the development of various aspects of this mixed-use community. And there is nothing in the proffers that says you've got to develop thing 1 first and thing 2 second and thing 3 third. It needs to be a mixture of residential and commercial activity. And it's more heavily geared to the residential. The site plan that was under consideration had reserved space for commercial development, had reserved it to be developed when there were businesses that wanted to go there. And Mr. Capers' decision to not process the site plan caused significant disruption and the loss of valuable time. Now, going back a couple of years, the landowner applied for low-income housing tax credits from the Virginia Department of Housing Development. And in response to that, Mr. Capers wrote a letter or a memo to the head of that department that said that low-income housing was not within the zoning for this project, which is simply incorrect. There was no proffer that said there. First of all, the town has no ordinance that requires a proffer for low-income housing. Secondly, the fact is that the age-restricted housing, 40 units, has to be developed. It's required under the proffers that were adopted in conjunction with the PMUD rezoning. And the delay, and also when the comments were given, the Virginia statutes require the agent who is reviewing a site plan application to identify all duly adopted ordinances, regulations, and policies that are violated in the site plan application. Mr. Capers did not do that. It also requires the reviewing agent to describe or to state the actions that would make the site plan come into conformity with those duly adopted things. He did not identify any quote unquote fixes, I guess would be the way to look at it. And the failure to do that, Mr. Capers' failure to do that, made it impossible for the site plan applicant to revise the site plan in some way that would meet with approval, because they weren't told what was wrong. Really the only thing that was in his letter or his email, it was the timing and sequence of development. The proffers do not at any point say you have to do this thing first and this thing second and this thing third and this thing fourth. And we believe the site plan was perfectly appropriate for approval. And then we wait another 2 months to get this, I don't know how many page letter it was, the proffer interpretation letter. And it has incorrect information in it. It says that you can't access the property when in fact there were, they reserved easements for for access to Grand Park Drive over the police parcel that was dedicated to the town. And in the deed, the deed states that the developer had reserved easements for road access and utilities for that property. And he, in the proffer interpretation letter, Mr. Capers says there's no way to get access to that road, when in fact there were easements reserved for it. And so at one point there was an attempt to negotiate the repurchase of the quote unquote police parcel when the town, as I understand it, when the town had determined it did not want to develop a police station in that area. And that fell apart. I mean, it just fell apart. We made an offer to purchase that property for $80,000 and the town never accepted it. And with the site plan, the refusal to process the site plan led us to withdraw the amended proffers and to withdraw the offer to buy the property for that $80,000. We still think that would be the best solution for everyone. But we needed to move forward with litigation. We had 60 days in which to file a mandamus petition to attempt to get the court to order the town to approve the site plan. And the time was passing so quickly that we had to make that decision. We still think that the repurchase of that police parcel to allow for development on that parcel as well would be in the town's best interest, would be in the owner's best interest. But that hasn't happened, and it didn't seem to be in process to happen at the time that we withdrew the amended proffers. And really the biggest issue in my mind is the failure to identify with specificity the policies, ordinances, and regulations that the reviewing agent, Mr. Capers, determined were not properly followed. And the failure to follow state law that said, these are the things you need to do to correct those things. And the town council has the ability to to write this, not WRITE, but RIGHT, this issue and allow this development to go forward. If the town had wanted to put some restriction on low-income housing, the time to do that was at the time that the town council approved those rezoning proffers. And those proffers do not have any restriction on how the development can be financed. The town didn't ask for such an ordinance, for such a proffer. And the developer didn't offer such a proffer. And if town council approves this faulty letter, I think it will certainly be something that needs to be challenged, because the state law was not followed in terms of reviewing the site plan application, and the failure to process the plan is causing great harm to an excellent developer who is building a wonderful mixed use community there, and has reserved land for the development of commercial uses, which is on the site plan that Mr. Capers refused to process. I do have two representatives of my client, David Schultz and Todd Collins, who are on this Zoom, or at least I invited them to the Zoom, and I believe they are. And they may have something that they want to say in addition to my comments. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, is it appropriate for staff to lead with what we're talking about to give council some background information? There's a lot of detail here.
Well, it's his appeal. I gave him the opportunity to speak on why he's appealing the staff decision, and then I'll give staff an opportunity in a second, and then we'll be able to ask questions.
All right. Might we allow Mr. Schultz or Mr. Collins to comment, since they are the owners or the representative of the owners of these properties?
So we'll allow them to bring brief remarks before.
Thank
you. My staff.
Hi, this is David Schultz. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, David.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman. Good evening, David Schultz with Community Housing Partners. At various times, some of you might have met me or some of my colleagues as we've gone through the rezoning and development of this land. It has been a difficult road for us as developers. There's been, over the course of time, significant staff changes at the town level, where we were being guided, I'll call it a little bit looser, by some staff that were no longer at the town. And some directives from those staff, by email directives, go ahead and do this like this, or go ahead and do that like that. And we were, moving along, and when staff changed, there were definitely some good parts about that. There was a little bit, there was a lot more follow, more a format for us to follow as far as paperwork was concerned. But things, at that point, we're trying to get undone that were already, train had left the station. And so that was a difficult time for us. But in this particular item, our first, as my counsel pointed out, we were fairly surprised that the very first letter, which I would couch it as an opposition to our site plan and our future development of 40 senior affordable housing units on this parcel that went from the town to Virginia Housing. And there were a number of holes poked in that letter, so much so that the state chose to ignore the letter because it recognized that the town doesn't have an affordable housing zoning ordinance, that the land wasn't improperly zoned. And then when we got our housing credits to develop this site, we went ahead and tried to get our site plan approved, and really it just a difficult process. I would say, even to the, backing up what Bill said, when we tried to make an offer to purchase the police parcel that we had donated and dedicated to the town, things fell into an abyss. And the same thing happened with our site plan. I dare go out on a limb and say that the only reason we got a response to the site plan in comments that we did when we did was because we kept poking for those comments. We didn't get anything back. And when we did, it was that one sentence that we felt just was wrong again. So we feel that, we have access for the land. As Bill said, we're sequenced. There's no sequence of events to development here that were proffered that prohibit this development. And further, for the commercial aspect, we've reserved land on that site plan that was submitted, and it says commercial land, future commercial land that will be developed. The last thing I want to just, say is we do agree with Bill that the best course of action here would be to be able to execute on sort of the initial plan, where it was purchase the police parcel from the town and do a bigger, more cohesive, development there with the two parcels. But it just seemed like a merry-go-round, and we just had to get off and use the credits that were given to us. We have a $10 million development we'd like to develop in the town on that parcel, and do it in accordance with the proffers that are there. That's really all I have. Thank you for the time.
All right, thanks, David. All right, so I think we've heard from the applicant on his appeals process. This time, I'd like to give staff an opportunity to share with council why the applicant was denied, and why he's recommended to the council to uphold the proper interpretation. Mr. Capers, the floor is now yours.
Mr. Mayor, just so I am clear, it is customary, because this wasn't an application for an appeal. It is customary for staff to provide a staff report and background for the application. So I'm confused with what you're asking at this point. Are you asking for the staff report, or you asking for me to respond?
Yeah, you could just give the staff report, and then we'll go from there.
Can you see my screen, Mr. Mayor?
We can.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and honorable members of the Town Council. My name is Will Capers, and I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the Town of Dumfries. Tonight, I will be providing a staff report for the Town of Dumfries Town Council to consider an application for an appeal A 2021-001 submitted by the appellant, Town Square at Dumfries LLC. In regards to the issue and nature of the appeal, the appellant is requesting the council consider an appeal of a proper interpretation that was issued by the zoning administrator with respect to a site plan application, SP 2020-002. That said, site plan application is not in substantial conformance with the approved rezoning REZ 2016-001, the associated proffers, and master zoning plan, or MZP. The subject property is generally situated along Grand Park Road, specifically located at 3925 Grand Park Road, which is east of Route 1, Fairleigh Boulevard, and west of Old Triangle Road, as shown in this figure. The The property is currently undeveloped with no existing access connection along points along the property's frontage. The provisions of the Town of Dumfries zoning ordinance and Virginia State Code, which are relevant to this appeal, are listed as follows. The complete description and text of these provisions are contained in Appendix B of the staff report. The following slides provide background information that is pertinent and relevant to the appeal of the reference proffer interpretation made by the zoning administrator. On December 6, 2016, the Town Council approved rezoning application REZ 2016-001, Town Squares of Dumfries, and rezoned approximately 28.6 acres of land from the R2 General Residential District to the Planned Mixed Use District, or PMUD District. The rezoning was subject to executed proffers by the applicant and approved master zoning plan. The approved rezoning application with associated MZP and proffers are included in Appendix C of the staff report. Specific to the zoning administrative proffer interpretation letter, Proffer 1, titled "The Land Use Development and Operations," outline the project's development by permitting a mix of residential and commercial uses, limited to 105 townhomes, 270 multifamily units, 40 senior living units, and up to 20,000 square feet of retail. In addition, Proffer 2, titled "Master Zoning Plan," states that the development of the site shall be in substantial conformance with the approved master zoning plan. These proffers establish parameters in the review of any subsequent development plans and or permits for the site. As of date, 3 site plan applications have been submitted for the phased development of the Town Square project. It is important to note that the approved rezoning and associated MZP did not consider the phasing of the development, nor did the proffers establish conditions for the phasing of the development. Therefore, the choice with respect to site plan submissions has been solely that of the applicant for the site plan. It is also important to note that though the rezoning was not approved in phases, the exact locations and placements of buildings were outlined on the master zoning plan. In regards to the first site plan submission, or also known as phase 1 of development, on November 7th, 2018, the Town Council, in its capacity as the approval agent for site plan applications, approved SP 2018-002, submitted by Community Housing Partners to develop phase 1 of the Town Square project, which included 270 multifamily dwelling units, generally located in the area shown as Land Bay 3 on the approved MZP. The approved site plan did not include the development of any commercial space within the land bay as shown on the approved MZP. The approved site plan, SP 2018-002, is contained in Appendix D of the staff report. In 2019, K. Hudovin Homes submitted a site plan application, SP 2019-004, for phase 2 of the development to include 105 townhome dwelling units in an area shown as Land Bay 1 and Land Bay 2 on the approved master zoning plan. This site plan application did not include the development of any commercial space consistent with the approved master zoning plan or any reallocation of commercial space that was not provided in phase 1. At the time of the site plan submission for phase 2, town staff expressed concerns to the developer that the site plan application was not in substantial conformance with Proffer 1 and Proffer 2 of the approved rezoning and MZP dated September 26, 2016. In a letter to the town manager, Keith Rogers, dated October 19, 2019, the then counsel for the appellant, John Foote, outlined several commitments to conform to the conditions of the approved rezoning and proffers. Such commitments included a provision that the appellant, Town Squares of Dumfries, will not prepare either the retail or the age-restricted site plan until it has amended the current proffers and completed the engineering for the age-restricted site to include on what they describe as Lot D, which is a 1.5 acre parcel that was conveyed to the town. The essence of these commitments, as on Lot D, which is a 1.5, the essence of these commitments, is that the appellant would purchase parcel D, which was donated to the town as part of the rezoning and develop it as commercial to meet the proffers retail requirement. The town council approved the site plan on November 19, 2019. the approved site plan application, SP 2019-004, and letter to the town manager dated October 19th, 2019 are contained in Appendix E of the staff report. On October 9th, 2020, Community Housing Partners submitted a site plan application, SP 2020-002, for Phase 3, the final phase of the Town Square project, which included the development of 40 dwelling units, senior living residential facility. Upon a preliminary review of the application, town staff determined that it did not include any commercial uses and was inconsistent with the October 19th, 2019 letter that was provided by the developer, then attorney John Foote, to the town manager. The zoning administrator provided at the time a verbal determination to Mr. Foote, who represented the appellant, on October 23rd, 2020, indicating that the third site plan application did not conform to the approved proffers for the approved rezoning case, specifically pertaining to the land use mix and required commercial space. The zoning administrator further advised that this pending third site plan application could not be further processed in its current form until the proffers were modified. Staff determination of the site application non-conformance with the rezoning and proffer requirements, as well as the halting of the processing of the pending application, was also conveyed to the developer project engineer by email on December 21st, 2020. The site plan application, SP 2020-002, staff comments, and proffer interpretation letter are all contained in Appendix F of the staff report. As a follow-up to the conditions outlined in the letter submitted to the town manager on October 19, 2019, the appellant and developer, Town Square Dumfries LLC, submitted a proffer condition amendment application, PCA 2016-001, to the town. The PCA proposed to modify the approved proffers in the approved rezoning application to increase the density to the senior living portion of the project from 40 dwelling units to 120 dwelling units, to relocate the commercial uses to Land Bay 4, and to reduce the commercial use from 20,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. Staff reviewed the first submission of PCA 2016-001 and provided comments to the developer on February 21st, 2020. The first submission of the proffer condition amendment application is contained in Appendix G of the staff report. On December 11th, 2021, the Department of Planning and Community Development accepted the second submission of the proffer condition amendment. The second submission application further modified the commercial density from 10,000 square feet to 6,500 square feet, and residential density from 120 dwelling units to 100 dwelling units. Staff reviewed the second submission of the proffer condition amendment and provided comments to the developer on January 25th, 2021. The second submission of the proffer condition amendment, PCA 2016-001, is contained in Appendix G of the staff report. Also, as it pertains to the proffer condition amendment, in a letter dated February 3rd, 2021, the developer notified town staff through their current legal counsel, William Devine, that the applicant withdraws the PCA, the proffer condition amendment application. Additionally, Mr. Devine indicated that the developer intends to rescind its offer to purchase the town property as proposed in the October 19, 2019 letter from prior counsel, John Foote. In a letter dated March 18th, Mr. Foote notified the acting town attorney, Sharon Pandek, that Mr. Foote's firm was no longer representing the applicant and was no longer pursuing an amendment to the approved proffer condition. The March 18th, 2021 letter is also contained in Appendix G. In conclusion, as provided in the proffer interpretation letter dated February 11th, 2021, in my capacity as zoning administrator, I conclude that the site plan submission SP 2020-002 is not in substantial conformance with the approved rezoning, associated master zoning plan, and proffers. As shown in this figure, the approved master zoning plan shows the development of commercial uses within buildings located on Land Bay 1 and Land Bay 3. Furthermore, as shown on the MZP, the proffers consider the development of 20,000 square feet of retail provided in the area designated as commercial use on the plan. As previously noted, a site plan application was approved to develop 270 multifamily dwelling units in the area designated as Land Bay 3. 270 multifamily dwelling units were developed within 6 buildings, which are currently fully constructed on site. A site plan application to develop 105 townhomes within land base 1 and 2 has also been approved. And applications for building permits for the townhome units have been submitted and are being reviewed by staff. In sum, to date, there is no retail commercial development planned or constructed on the site. Staff determination remains that before site plan applications SP 2020-002 to develop Land Bay 4 can be approved, the developer must obtain council approval of a proffer condition amendment to modify the approved proffer conditions to relocate the commercial space to Land Bay 4 or to remove the proffer condition for the development of commercial space on the site. In accordance with Article 4, Section 70-542 of the zoning ordinance, the zoning administrator is responsible for ensuring that site plan applications are in compliance with all administrative and legislative requirements. As previously stated, the zoning administrator has determined that the site plan application SP 2020-002 is not in substantial performance with the MZP approved with rezoning application REZ 2016-001 and associated proffers because the applicant has not provided the approved retail density in the area designated as commercial space or provided for the proffer commercial space in some other area. Inclusion of commercial uses as provided in the MZP is no longer possible given the 2 approved site plans and subsequent development, which include no commercial retail space. Staff therefore recommends the council uphold the determination of the zoning administrator as set forth in the proper interpretation letter dated February 11, 2021. That concludes my presentation. I am available to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you for that detailed presentation and really taking me back down memory lane. I've been a part of this with this applicant since its inception, and I remember some of the first renderings of this project when it first came through. And I remember because this property wasn't zoned for none of that. What is that property currently zoned as, Mr. Capers?
Property is currently zoned for the planned mixed-use development or PMUD zoning district.
And is that supposed to be an all residential district or a planned mixed-use development, or what is that makeup of?
The intent of the planned mixed-use development district, as stated in the name of the district, is for the development of a mix of uses on a single parcel.
Yeah, I remember when they asked for the rezoning, I was very excited about approving, and I guess you can see in all the appendix, I voted yes on all of the rezonings on every resolution that's in there because I was excited about, and you probably can go back and watch the tapes on that, but I asked the developer, I said, make sure we get some commercial development along Route 1 because I was excited that we was going to get this mix of use property and the proffer. So, you know, seeing phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 with, you say no commercial was presented in none of those?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, Council, is there any other questions? Because I think, click Councilwoman Mouse.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, I would really just like to make a motion that we approve the staff's recommendation to uphold the decision that was recommended back in February.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion by Councilwoman Miles and second by Councilman Fields. I'm gonna keep it open for discussion because I think I saw a couple other hands for discussion. Councilman Fields, did you have discussion?
Just co-signing on what you stated earlier. I think we're the only two that's on council here. When these came up initially, I think it was back in 2016, if I'm not correct.
15 initial presentation, but yeah, we ended up approving these.
Yeah, I think we approved it and just as soon as I got on council. So yes, the memory lane and the talk about it, I definitely remember. And that's all I have to say.
No, the first vote was actually November 1st, 2016. Only one was absent was Miss Washington on that, but yeah, it's there in the page of your packet. Councilman Brown.
So I wasn't on the council, but I was on the planning commission. And I remember the request to change the zone there. And Mr. Capers, you presented the development and what needs to be done there in order to get this project on the move. And I was very excited about the commercial retail space in that area. So it's disappointing to me right now to hear that that is a piece that we are debating about when it goes in, when I believe in my perspective, it should have been already laid out right now. We don't see any of that in any of the presentations right now. So I have concerns there, and I agree with Councilwoman Miles. We should just go ahead and vote on the proper.
Any other discussion? And please note, Councilwoman DeVille lost her Wi-Fi service. So just wanted to note that. That's why you don't see Councilwoman DeVille lost Wi-Fi signal. So I just got a message there. Councilman Brown?
There was one other comment that I just want to make sure that I'm clear on. There was a statement that we had violated some state statute and provide a response back. I just want to make sure that our town attorney can advise us on any of that. If it's not the right time, we can discuss later.
Ms. Pandek?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to give a little longer response than yes or no to Councilman Brown's question. The matter of whether or not the site plan should have been approved within a specific period of time is now pending in court based on a petition by the developer. And we have filed pleadings in response to that to have that petition dismissed. It hasn't been heard yet. Mr. Capers, when he went through the history of this project, outlined to you how over a year ago, when the site plan initially came in, the developer was apprised by the town planning staff that it was not consistent with the proffers and could not be approved in the form that it was in. At that point, the counsel for the developer, Mr. Foote, acknowledged that and then indicated, and they proceeded to file a proffer condition amendment, which based on what was submitted, and Mr. Capers, you'll correct me at some point if I'm wrong, but based on what was submitted, would have allowed the council to, now the planning director, to approve that plan as consistent, but that proffer condition amendment was not pursued. And in fact has been withdrawn. So the history of this project does not date from the fall of last year. The history of this site plan goes back further to, I think, beginning in late 2019, and then into early 2020, when the Developers Council indicated that they would be addressing that issue of no commercial on the site plan. Have I left out anything, Will?
No, I think you covered it. Sorry.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor to accept the staff's recommendation. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All right, and Town Clerk, you got to help me. Who made the motion and who seconded it so we can?
Yes, sir. The motion was made by Councilwoman Miles and seconded by Councilman Fields.
Okay, yeah, we had so much discussion. I forgot. Thank you. All right. Seeing no further discussion, we're going to call for the question. All right, Councilman Fields?
Yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Miles?
Aye.
Councilman Pete?
Abstain.
Okay. Councilman Brown?
Aye.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
And that's a yes for me. That motion Can I get the town clerk? Because I know we all spread out in this box.
Yes, sir. That motion carried 1, 2, 3, I'm sorry, 4, 5. 5 in the affirmative. Council, unfortunately, Councilwoman Neville is not present. And then we have Councilman Pete abstaining.
Okay, thank you. So that motion carries.
Yes, sir.
All right. Council, do y'all need a quick 5 stretch break before we move on to? Okay, I see your head shaking. All right, so it's 8:20. If you could take a quick stretch break, we'll come back at 8:25. It's a quick thing, but if y'all need it, I know. Look at the town manager. He like, y'all really need 5. Take 5. Come back at 8:20.
I didn't say that, Mayor. I said, please, the council's pleasure. If it pleases the council.
All right, I see y'all in 5.
Councilwoman Neville, I don't know if you heard because you were having problems getting in. The mayor took 5, so 8:25 is just so you know what's going on.
So town clerk, just so you know, every hour I give them the option to give a 5-minute stretch break because I
Because
believe in
we are a healthy living town.
healthy, healthy eating, active living.
Eating, active living, yeah, that.
It gives you a chance to stretch and to let the blood circulate because it's not healthy to sit there constantly and not move around.
Well, thank you. I needed something to drink. So. Okay. Thank you. Mayor, do you know what time Councilman Pete arrived?
7:30.
Thank you.
So, all right. Here we go. And I should have stopped and noted it for you. All right. So it's 8:25. We'll bring everybody back for our last item on the agenda, which is an introduction item, an ordinance amending the town code concerning council salaries. We're looking to schedule a public hearing for June 1st, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the 7 p.m. meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Mayor and Council. We have one introduction item on tonight, and that is, as the Mayor has stated, for your consideration, is the ordinance amending the town code concerning council salary, scheduling a public hearing for June 1st, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. Your action tonight would be that of making a motion to schedule the public hearing for June 1, 2021 at 7:00 p.m.
Any questions, council? All right, seeing none.
Make a motion.
All right, motion by Councilman Pete.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman DeVille. Seeing no further discussion. Town manager, you say you had something to add? You good? Okay. All right, I'm going to call for the question. Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles.
I was having some Wi-Fi issues getting connected back. Well, what was the question?
Oh, we just want to schedule a public hearing concerning the town code and council salaries for June 1st at 20.
Okay.
Aye. All right. All right, let me reset. Councilman Pete, did I get you? No.
Yeah, that's a yes for me.
All right, Councilwoman DeVille.
Aye.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
That's a yes for me. And Councilman Fields, did I get you? Okay.
Yes.
All right, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I think that motion, I think I hit all 7. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any save rounds? Nobody had none. Okay. I guess at this time, this meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a nice day. Councilman Fields.